My name is Ava Carter, and I am 33. On June 15th, 2025, at my father's gala at Scioto Country Club in Columbus, he looks me in the eye, calls me uneducated trash, and tells me to leave his celebration while a ballroom full of clients and neighbors goes silent. I do not raise my voice. I press the side button on my phone and make sure the recorder keeps running. The file already has a name. Receipts. My father, Bob Carter, is 66, a CPA who believes credentials define character. My mother, Linda, keeps the peace by smoothing over whatever he says. My brother, Brandon, sells advice like it is salvation and expects applause. His wife, Sloan, turns family moments into content. My sister, Jenna, follows the CPA track and quotes rules like scripture. When a crisis hits, they protect the picture on the mantle before they protect the person in the room. When pressure rises, they double down on image and call it love. They have no idea what I have been building since I left community college at 19. At 22, I launched Made in US Market from a studio apartment. Today, the company does over $40 million in annual revenue and holds a $60 million valuation. I have paid $950,000 in family emergencies with wires and invoices to prove every dollar. I have contracts, audit trails, and a clean ledger. I have a recording from tonight that captures every word, every pause, and every breath. This is not about payback. This is about respect, justice, and boundaries. It is about saying no to quiet cruelty and yes to facts that do not flinch. I am done asking for permission to stand up straight. Subscribe before you hear the ending that turned a ballroom whisper into a public reckoning. Before the ballroom and the microphone, there is Columbus. Sidewalks I can map with my eyes closed. Summers that smell like cut grass and charcoal. My father leaves before sunrise for the firm and returns with stories about clients who do things the right way. My mother runs the calendar, the casseroles, the quiet. Our house displays a single path. Degree, office, tenure, respect. I do not fight that story out loud. I study it, then set mine beside it. Brandon is the golden child early. He speaks with the confidence of a man twice his age and people clap for it. Jenna is the rule follower. Neat binders? Perfect scores? I am the builder who asks different questions. At 16, Brandon clips a mailbox with the family sedan and the fender folds like paper. The shop quotes $3,400. My father calls it a learning moment and covers the bill on a Friday, then jokes about it at church on Sunday. That same month, I ask for a $200 used laptop to keep my online shop alive. My father says work with what you have. He says character is built through scarcity, and then he orders new floor mats for the sedan. 2 years later, Jenna applies to an exam prep course. $2,000 due by the end of the week. My parents call it an investment in a real career. I ask for $500 to register an LLC and pay for a basic hosting plan. My father says the world does not need another internet shop. He says you can always take a few classes and earn a degree that counts. I say thank you and keep shipping orders at night from an old desktop that takes 5 minutes to boot. Sloan joins the family when Brandon decides every moment should look like a brand shoot. She plans a shower that belongs in a magazine. My parents add $800 to the fund and call it showing up. I ask for $250 to buy a used label printer so I can stop handwriting addresses. My father says we do not fund fads. He says a real job includes benefits and a boss. The pattern locks in. Brandon receives second chances and upgrades. Jenna receives the materials and the coaching. I receive speeches about humility and a pat on the head. I learned something anyway. When people tell you no often enough, you stop asking. You build without permission, and you keep every receipt. By 19, I leave community college. I am not reckless. I am methodical. I rent a studio near campus and work from a wobbly table that used to be a porch find. I fail fast and take notes. I read contracts slowly and highlight fees. I sleep next to boxes because floor space is a luxury I cannot afford. When I am unsure, I choose action over permission. I also choose silence. I stop trying to convert my family. I let results speak. The family still calls when the stakes are high. In March 2008, my mother receives a diagnosis that knocks the air out of every room. Insurance covers most of it, then stops. I wire $180,000 directly to the hospital and the oncology group within 48 hours. I keep the invoices and the confirmations inside a folder with the word medical at the top. My parents tell neighbors a settlement arrived. I let them have that story because it helps them sleep. In October 2020, Brandon finds a house in a district he loves and the closing statement stares him down. I wire $120,000 for the down payment. In April 2021, he texts me a list of updates that reads like a renovation show. Roof, floors, kitchen. I send 65,000 more. The memo on the wire reads family house. He adds a thumbs up emoji and calls himself blessed on social media. I say nothing. Jenna gets engaged that summer. The venue and catering stretch past what her budget can hold. I cover 50,000 in August 2021. Ethan loses a job offer in September and the honeymoon deposit threatens to vanish. I send 16,000 to salvage it. Ethan calls and thanks me with the voice of a man who feels both grateful and small. I remind him that we are family. We hang up. He keeps the secret because secrecy protects pride. In January 2022, my father's car needs work after a roadside breakdown. The repair lands at 22,000. I pay the invoice the day it posts and email the receipt to the shop so they can release the car. In March, my mother admits her hands hurt at the old counters and that chopping vegetables has turned into a chore that makes her cry. I send 35,000 for a modest kitchen update. In 2022 and 2023, I clear 78,000 of family credit card debt to stop the interest from snowballing. Each payment posts to a provider portal with a note. Paid by Ava. I screen grab everything and save it to a folder named Statements. Spring 2023 turns into triage. I move 45,000 into a college fund for my nephew because a bank manager mentions the benefit of starting early. In May, I rescue a mortgage with 52,000 so a collector stops calling after dinner. In June, I cover 2 years of property taxes that add up to 28,000 because no one remembers the due date until a notice arrives. That same month, Brandon calls about a position he took in options and how the timing betrayed him. He sounds like he is underwater. I wire 150,000 with a note that reads, family emergency. In August, Jenna starts a night program to expand her credentials. I send 52,000 for tuition. She tells me that one day she will return the favor. I reply with a thumbs up because some moments do not need speeches. The list grows in 2024. In February, I replace an HVAC system for 12,000 because the heat dies during a cold snap. In April, I cover emergency childcare and travel when Sloan has a campaign and Brandon travels for a conference. 7,000. In May, a roof leak appears at their rental and the bid is 23,000. I pay the vendor directly. In July, my father needs physical therapy and imaging after a back flare. 9,000 across 2 bills. In August, a summer camp threatens to cancel my nephew's spot because of a balance. 3,500. In October, a small property tax gap appears again. 2,500 closes it. By December 2024, the ledger reaches 950,000 even. Wires, cashier checks, provider portals. Every entry sits inside a drive folder with timestamps and file names that include date, amount, purpose. Through all of this, the public story does not change. At cookouts and holidays, Brandon is the provider. My father is the pillar. I am the dropout with an internet thing that people do not understand. When someone mentions e-commerce, Brandon steers the talk to his funds under management. When a neighbor brings up the cancer fight, my mother nods and speaks about prayers being answered. When anyone asks how I am, the conversation shifts to a safer topic. Youth sports, weather, travel points. I do not fight for airtime. I do not recite numbers to win affection. I show up with solutions and I remove problems quietly. I tell myself this is love. I tell myself this is maturity. I tell myself the bill for resentment will never come due. I am wrong. It arrives with interest. My role cements. I am the reliable one. The quiet fixer. The person who can move money faster than a bank manager can print a deposit slip. I build systems because systems keep me sane. I keep a ledger with categories and notes. I save emails and texts in a vault. I label screenshots. I create subfolders by year. I can prove every claim without raising my voice. There is another side to the foundation. The company I build does not happen by accident. At 19, I drop out. Then at 22, I launch Made in Us Market from a studio with a futon. I connect small American manufacturers to customers who care where things are made. I learn logistics one misprint at a time. I negotiate with shippers. I write simple code and then hire someone who can do it better. I choose partners who care about quality, not hype. I fail 3 times before I find a model that holds. I keep my head down and let cash flow teach me discipline. I do not parade numbers at the dinner table because victory speeches are for people who need approval to breathe. The more I help, the less I am seen. It is a strange math. I wire money and lose visibility. I solve problems and become a rumor. At some point, I stop waiting for curiosity from people who share my last name. I accept the truth. Some families love the version of you that fits their story and resist the version that writes her own. That acceptance does not remove the sting. It gives me a plan. It turns me into a builder who measures everything. I still believe presentation matters. I still hope that if I tell the story with clarity and respect, a different outcome is possible. In May 2025, a cream envelope arrives with a crest pressed into the flap. Scioto Country Club invites us to a gala that honors my father's 3 decades of service. The date reads June 15, 2020. The guest list includes partners, clients, and neighbors who know our family by the image on our holiday card. I buy a simple dress and a gift I know is right. I assemble a folder. I write a one-page summary in plain language. I plan to say thank you, and then I plan to tell the truth. I believe the room can hold it. But they do not know what I have been building. They do not know I have a ledger that does not blink. They do not know that a single night can show you exactly where you stand. That is when everything changes. The night of June 15, 2025 breaks clean at the hinge. Inside the Scioto Country Club ballroom, my father refuses the retirement folder and calls me uneducated trash. I stand still, hold my breath, and let the recorder on my phone capture every sentence. When the room exhales, I do not plead. I walk out into the humid dark of a Columbus summer, cross the gravel circle, and sit in my car until my hands stop shaking. I look down at the file name on my screen. Receipts. The timestamp reads 9:12 p.m. Eastern. I know exactly what comes next. Not rage, not a scene, a plan. At the hotel, I place the envelope on the desk and open my laptop. I create a master spreadsheet titled Family Ledger 2019 to 2024. I list each transfer with the date, the amount, and the purpose. Oncology Gap, March 2019. $180,000 paid by wire. Down payment, October 2020. $120,000 wire. Renovations, April 2021, $65,000 wire. Wedding, August 2021, $50,000 ACH. Honeymoon rescue. September 2021, $16,000 credit to vendor. Car repair, January 2022. $22,000 invoice paid to shop. Kitchen update, March 2022. $35,000 vendor, ACH. Card balances cleared 2022 to 2023. $78,000 provider portals. College fund spring to 3. $45,000 custodial account deposit. Mortgage arrears May 2023, $52,000 cashier check. Property taxes June 2023, $28,000 county portal. Options loss rescue June 2023, $150,000 wire. Tuition August 2023, $52,000 bursar transfer. HVAC February 2024, $12,000 vendor. ACH childcare and travel. April 2024, $7,000 reimbursements with receipts. Rental roof May 2024, $23,000 vendor ACH. PT and imaging July 2024, $9,000 provider portals. Camp balance August 2024, $3,500. Tax gap October 2024, $2,500. Total December 2024, $950,000 even. I attach PDF confirmations for every single line. I name each file by date, amount, and purpose so no one can pretend confusion later. I add a second tab labeled Evidence Index. Column A holds a short description. Column B holds the source bank provider email or text. Column C holds where the PDF lives inside the drive. Column D holds the internal note for counsel. I include the audio file as Item 1. I add the phrase recorded in Ohio, which is a one-party consent state, to the note field. I am precise because precision is the only language that matters now. By 1 a.m., I open a new document called Boundary Plan. It has 3 sections: financial, legal, public narrative. Under financial, I list immediate tasks: freeze my credit with all bureaus, lock my credit reports with my bank, turn on transaction alerts above $500, audit all open accounts and beneficiaries, replace passwords and add hardware keys. Under legal, I list next steps: engage corporate counsel for personal matter, retain a digital forensics consultant to advise on identity risk, draft templates for demand letters if repayment claims are needed, prepare a memorandum for a potential board complaint if any professional letter in my name appears. Under public narrative, I write a single sentence: I will speak only in facts and only when documentation can stand on its own. I sleep 3 hours. On June 16th, I email my therapist, Dr. Naomi Ellis, and ask for the first available session that week. I do not want a vent. I want a clean frame. I want to decide from the front of my mind, not the back. I also schedule a call with my corporate attorney at noon. I send him the audio, the ledger, and the boundary plan with a one-line request. I need a measured strategy that protects me and does not escalate beyond the truth. He replies within the hour. We will proceed step by step. He loops in a forensic security consultant who has worked on executive identity cases. They build a call for the next morning. The call is simple and calm. We walk the map. They ask what I want. I say I want safety clarity and an exit from the role of endless rescue. We agree on a phased approach. Phase 1. Secure everything. Monitor for fraud. Document any new attempt to use my name. Phase 2. If evidence of identity misuse appears, file precise reports with banks and authorities. Phase 3. If repayment for documented loans is appropriate, pursue civil remedies with clean exhibits and no theatrics. I ask for a one-page summary of each action so that the paper trail looks the same to anyone who sees it. They deliver the first drafts that afternoon. I stop initiating family contact that day. Not a dramatic announcement, just a steady silence. I am done performing as the reliable one by default. I am done pre-solving problems no one else will face. For the first 48 hours, nothing happens. On day 3, my mother sends a text that says we should not let a misunderstanding steal joy. On day 4, my father sends nothing. On day 5, Brandon texts me a link to a kitchen faucet for his rental, then follows with a question mark. On day 6, Jenna leaves a voicemail that circles the topic and lands on hope. None of them asks if I am safe, if I need anything, or even what I plan to say with that envelope at the gala. Their silence tells me what I need to know. They want the old story back. I do not. There is still business to run, and that steadies me. I set my laptop on the small table by the window and open the company dashboard. The numbers are clean. Orders ship on time. Partner retention holds. A new retailer has replied with redline comments that are minor. My COO, Chris Nguyen, posts a note in our channel, says the team has my back and to take the morning if I need it. I breathe easier. I send a brief update to my leadership team. All good here. Thank you. We keep moving. On June 18th, I meet with Dr. Ellis on video. I recount the scene at the country club without adjectives. She listens, then says something that anchors me. You cannot control who refuses to see you, but you can control what you require to stay in relationship. She asks what a respectful future would look like. I answer without thinking. No insults accepted, no money moved without a written agreement, no denial of my work in public. She nods. Put those in writing for yourself first, then live them. We schedule 2 more sessions to hold me accountable to my own rules. The next morning, my attorney sends a memo summarizing the Ohio recording rule in plain language. One-party consent for private conversations with exceptions I have not touched. The audio from the gala is lawful to keep and to use in legal proceedings if needed. He includes a note about not posting it online, which I was not going to do anyway. Documentation is a shield, not a stunt. He also sends a checklist for identity safety. Pull fresh reports, scan for inquiries, set up account notifications. I complete each step and tick boxes one by one. The small act of checking a box lowers my heart rate. By June 20th, the initial shock settles into a steady resolve. I open my Naples house calendar and block time to move. The property is already mine. It was an investment purchase last year, and I have visited twice. Now it becomes a base. I call my assistant and ask her to coordinate a move for my personal items and to donate most of what I left in Ohio. I choose light on purpose. I do not want a house full of old noise. I want a new room where every object earns its place. One last thing remains before I leave town. I slide the retirement packet back into the envelope and tuck it into my briefcase. It will not be offered again. Not until respect exists as a baseline. That decision is not about punishment. It is about alignment. Money is not a tool for access. It is a tool for care and for clear agreements. I will not fund contempt. I write that sentence at the top of my boundary plan and read it out loud. I also prepare for the possibility that the story will twist again because family systems resist change. I set up a dedicated email address for any future financial requests and route it to my attorney. I draft an automatic reply that says all money-related communication must go through counsel. I add a line that says personal contact is welcome for non-financial matters, and that I prefer email for clarity. This is not about building a wall. It is about building a door with a lock that works. The last day in Columbus, I drive past familiar corners and count the ways I tried to earn approval I had already outgrown. I stop by the post office and mail a short letter to my parents. It is not a speech. It is a clear notice. The gala hurt. The words were unacceptable. I need an acknowledgement in writing before we talk about anything substantial. I list the 3 boundaries I set with Dr. Ellis. Alice? No insults. Agreements in writing, no public minimization of my work. I sign my name and send it certified. Not as a threat, as clarity. I sleep that night and wake before sunrise. I turn in the room key and drive to the airport while the city is still quiet. In the boarding area, I scroll through the drive one more time and test the links. Ledger spreadsheet opens. Evidence index opens. Audio file plays. Boundaries plan prints clean to PDF. Password manager shows green checks. Credit bureaus still show frozen status. My mind lists each item and feels the relief of order replacing chaos. On the plane, I look at the water through the window as we approach Florida. I think about the version of me that used to sprint toward every family fire with a bucket in each hand. I do not judge her. She kept people alive. She also kept me small. That season is over. Self-reliance is not a threat to family. It is the only way to love anyone without disappearing. I land in Naples and walk out into heat and salt air. The house is quiet when I unlock the door. I open windows and let the breeze move through rooms that still smell faintly like fresh paint. I set my laptop on the kitchen counter, open a new notebook, and write the first line of what happens next. Build a life that does not need permission. I mean it in both directions, for me and for them. 2 days later, a new kind of test arrives. My phone buzzes with an alert from my credit monitoring service. New inquiry detected. I did not apply for anything. I log in, freeze again, and request the application details. There is a credit card application I did not submit. A second alert follows an hour later for a personal loan application. My stomach drops, then steadies. We built this plan for a reason. I call my attorney and forward the alerts. He instructs me to file fraud reports with the banks and to capture screenshots of every notice and timestamp. The forensic consultant asks for IP logs and device fingerprints from the lenders. Counsel sends the subpoenas. I save every confirmation into the evidence index with clean file names. If someone thinks they can use my name as a shortcut, they are about to meet the long road of documentation. What happens next does not blow up on a phone call. It arrives in a quiet email from a bank fraud unit. The logs show application sessions from an IP address tied to my parents' home in Columbus. The device signature matches a laptop model my brother uses. A third lender receives an income verification letter on a CPA letterhead that looks like my father's. Numbers are wrong. Signature block is wrong. The pattern is visible even to the naked eye. My attorney drafts new documents, one to the Ohio Board of Accountancy about a letter that bears my father's name, one to the county authorities about identity theft, one to the bank about the fraudulent applications. I reread each line for accuracy. I keep my tone even. I sign my name. I stand on my deck at dusk and listen to the water. The plan I wrote in a hotel room is now in motion. Not to destroy people, to protect the truth, to protect my life, to protect the company I built without applause. I remind myself this is not a fight. It is a boundary held in full daylight. That is when everything changes again. 3 days later, I get the call that moves my story from private to public. I land in Naples with a plan and a clean ledger. The house is quiet, bright, and spare. I open windows, unbox a few plates, and set my laptop on the kitchen counter. Work steadies me. Maideness Market is healthy and growing. Kristen Nguyen runs ops with the kind of discipline that makes dashboards hum. Our partner list sits at about 1,200 manufacturers. Our team count is 85. The revenue line is steady and honest. A 7-day daily net average around 34,000. A rolling 30-day net that clears 1,020,000 on July 15th. The math is tight. Daily times 30 lands near that mark. I keep numbers simple so no one can twist them later. I build routines that hold me in place. Mornings start with a beach walk of coffee and a review of 3 reports. Fulfillment times. Partner retention. Net revenue by channel. At noon, I block an hour for deep work. Contract reviews, product margins, cash flow projections. In the afternoon, I switch to people and partners. I call 2 new distribution centers and negotiate service levels. I approve a pilot with a national retailer with a written minimum guarantee of $1.6 million for an exclusive end cap. I take notes in plain language. What we promised, what they promised, where risks live. Every promise lands in a folder called Agreements. On July 3rd, Noel Park texts me a link from the Naples Business Journal. The headline reads, "E-commerce founder brings jobs and pride to American makers." The article is clean and sourced. It pulls from public filings, partner interviews, and our impact reports. I did not pitch it. I read it once, mark 2 small clarifications, and send a thank you to the reporter. I return to my desk. The work does not stop because a camera points in my direction. Meanwhile, boundaries take root. I route all money-related emails to counsel. I keep personal texts short and polite. My parents ask to visit. I reply that I am open to a conversation in a public place and that I need a written acknowledgement of what happened at the gala before we move forward. They answer with a sentence about putting it behind us. I do not move the boundary. Brandon sends a link to a real estate syndicate. 10% returns, he says. I do not engage. Sloan posts a video about family values that reads like a subtweet. Jenna sends a picture of a flower arrangement to avoid the topic. The pattern is the same, only now I refuse to supply the old ending. The call that shifts the ground arrives 3 days after my last entry in Part 3. The bank fraud unit confirms what the alert suggested. 2 credit card applications and 1 personal loan request originated from an IP address tied to my parents' home network in Columbus. The device fingerprint matches a laptop model my brother uses. A third lender received an income verification letter on letterhead that looks like my father's CPA firm with numbers that do not match any reality and a signature block that looks wrong even to the naked eye. The investigator speaks in calm sentences and clear timestamps. I take notes, then send the memo to counsel and to the forensics consultant. They file bank fraud reports, request full logs, and draft a complaint to the Ohio Board of Accountancy. We attach exhibits, IP logs, device IDs, the suspect letter, a chain of custody note for each file. The tone stays precise, no adjectives, only facts. I do not post screenshots or imply guilt online. I lock down my credit against set transaction alerts at a low threshold and rotate passwords with a hardware key. I review my beneficiary lists and account recovery options. I record every step inside an evidence index so that any outsider can follow the path without guessing. Documentation is not drama. Documentation is a language that systems understand. The business keeps climbing. On July 10th, we signed 2 retail collaborations, one with a Midwest grocer, another with a home goods chain that wants an American-made seasonal aisle. Each contract passes legal review. The margin model holds. We forecast $4.8 million in incremental revenue over the next 12 months based on conservative assumptions. I send a small bonus to the team when we cross the million net mark on July 15th. I tell them the truth. Growth is not luck. It is boring discipline repeated until it looks like momentum. At the same time, cracks show in the family image. Brandon hints at pressure on a few client accounts and asks me to post about his firm. I decline. Sloan loses a sponsored post due to a brand pivot and sends a message that reads like a dig. My parents float a new idea. Come to Florida. We will apologize in person. I ask again for a written acknowledgement before we meet. Silence follows for 2 days. Then my mother replies with a sentence that avoids the request. We miss you. We want to be a family. I read it twice. I keep my boundary. I am not withholding to punish. I am protecting the only things that let relationships survive truth and respect. The Naples profile travels farther than I expect. A national outlet picks it up in mid-July. LinkedIn adds a top voice badge to my profile after a post about supplier lead times and small shop cash stress gains traction. Old classmates send friendly notes. Former teachers recall my lemonade stand. Small manufacturers write to say that our purchase orders kept their lights on through slow quarters. I share the credit with the team. I file the praise where it belongs. Encouragement is fuel, not proof. By late July, the legal steps mature into calendar dates. Counsel schedules a meeting for early August in our firm conference room. Purpose to present the evidence of identity misuse and to discuss civil recovery of $320,000 in documented loans. Attendees, me, my attorney, a court reporter as a neutral witness, and members of my family if they choose to attend. Agenda fraud reports submitted, board complaint filed, repayment terms to discuss. The invitation is professional and direct. No one can claim surprise. I print a copy and slide it into a folder labeled August. Meanwhile, I keep building my life in Naples. I buy quilts from a North Carolina partner and hang original work by 2 artists we feature. I adopt a second dog, a senior retriever named Mabel, to keep Ranger honest. I join a local chamber lunch and listen more than I talk. I take a pottery class that leaves clay under my nails and humility in my voice. I discover that peace and power can sit next to each other at the same table. One does not cancel the other. Peace anchors power so it does not turn into noise. I rehearse my next moves out loud. Speak only in facts. Ask for clarity. Do not let anyone force a scene that benefits the old narrative. I write a short script for the meeting, so I do not improvise away my boundaries. I include a sentence that matters to me. I will not allow money to buy access to me while disrespect remains the price of admission. I practice it until my voice sounds like the person I have become. Calls, emails, and messages gather like weather. My father leaves a voicemail with a smile I can hear. He says there was a misunderstanding at the gala. He says he is proud and wants to see my home. My mother texts a beach emoji. Brandon sends a thumbs up and then asks if I will boost his next seminar. Jenna sends a note that says she wants everyone to be happy. I answer only once. I send the meeting details through counsel. All money questions go there. All personal conversations can happen after a written acknowledgement lands in my inbox. No one sends the acknowledgement. I do not stall the truth to keep the peace. Peace built on denial is a short lease. I choose a longer term. I tell the team I will be out the morning of the meeting in August. I line up a product review for the afternoon. I set out bottled water and a legal pad on my conference table at home so I can decompress when I return. I schedule a sunrise walk the day of because I move better when the first thing I do is breathe ocean air. What happens next is the part of the story people tend to replay. It is the moment where a quiet ledger meets a loud room under lights that do not blink. I do not rush toward it. I meet it at a steady pace with facts in a folder and my voice under control. 3 days before the meeting, a second envelope arrives. This one is not heavy cream with a crest. It is thin and official. The Ohio Board of Accountancy confirms receipt of our complaint and notes that a preliminary review is underway based on the documents provided. The letter is not a verdict. It is a process. It is also a reminder that boundaries have teeth when backed by evidence. But they still do not know what I am willing to do next. They think I will fold because family is in the room. They believe the old roles will reappear on command. They are wrong. That is when everything changes. 3 days after the board letter lands in my mailbox, I put my plan on the record. On July 24th, I publish a clean factual post on LinkedIn. The title is simple: Why I Stopped Funding My Family. I do not name anyone. I do not use adjectives. I list dates, amounts, and redacted proof. Oncology gap, $180,000. Down payment and renovations, $185,000. Tuition, $52,000. Options rescue, $150,000. Taxes, repairs, and the rest to a total of $950,000. I attach screen captures with account numbers blocked. I end the post with one sentence: documentation is not drama, it is clarity. The response is immediate and steady. Founders share it. Accountants nod at the paper trail. A retired judge comments that boundaries protect families. My phone is quiet where it matters. At home, I drink water, take Ranger for a walk, and put my phone face down. I am not chasing a reaction. I am building a record that holds. But they do not know what I am building next. My attorney sends formal invitations for a meeting on August 2nd in our law firm conference room in Naples. The agenda is clear: fraud alerts, the suspect income letter, repayment options for $320,000 documented as loans. A court reporter will be present, an independent notary will be present, audio will run with consent. We will proceed in straight lines. They arrive 10 minutes late. My father walks in with a practiced smile. My mother grips her purse like a lifeline. Brandon keeps his chin up. Sloan waits in the lobby with her phone. Jenna sits at the far end and watches. The court reporter swears us in. The red light on the recorder glows. My attorney starts with a calm summary. He notes the Ohio recording rule for the gala audio: one-party consent. He explains that the audio will be used only in legal context, not posted online. He slides a thin stack across the table. Device fingerprints and IP logs tied to applications in my name. 2 cards, 1 personal loan. Same home network in Columbus. He adds the letter sent to a lender on a CPA letterhead that looks like my father's with numbers that are not real. I speak only after the facts sit on the table. I walk through the ledger. I identify the $320,000 documented as loans by text and email. I state that our counsel is prepared to file a civil action and ask the court for a lien if we do not reach terms. I say that my complaint to the Ohio Board of Accountancy is now in preliminary review. I say that the bank fraud units have referrals to the county authorities. I keep my voice even. I keep my hands still. Shock shows up first. My father stares at the device report as if it can blink. Brandon says a friend must have used his laptop. My mother says families do not sue families. Denial gives way to anger. My father leans forward and says the internet has made me arrogant. Brandon says I want to ruin his life. Sloan steps into the doorway to accuse me of chasing attention. I do not answer her. I return to the ledger. I return to the written terms. I return to the rule that has rebuilt my air supply. No insults, agreements in writing, no public minimization of my work. Then the room shifts. Panic and bargaining arrive together. Brandon asks for time. My father asks if there is another way. My mother asks if we can keep this private. I hold eye contact and say the only thing that matters. Privacy is earned by honesty. If you want quiet, tell the truth. We break for 10 minutes so counsel can draft a short memorandum of discussion. This is the power reveal, though. I never raise my voice. I own my story. I own the only checkbook that has kept their fires from jumping fences. I control the documentation that institutions read. I control whether the next step is a complaint, a filing, or a silence sealed by signatures. I do not threaten. I instruct. All money contact goes through counsel. All personal contact is welcome when respect is present. Any attempt to contact my company or my investors will be documented and forwarded. I slide a copy of the policy across the table. It is one page. It is plain English. What happens next shocks everyone, not because I planned a spectacle, but because institutions work when you feed them facts. On August 9th, the Ohio Board of Accountancy issues my father a notice of emergency suspension pending investigation. The notice is not a verdict. It is a pause while they review evidence. The firm announces his early retirement the same day. They say it is time. People read the line and draw their own conclusions. My LinkedIn post trends again this time under a conversation about boundaries and ethics. I do not add a comment. I go for a run and answer emails when I get back. Consequences ripple outward. Brands review Sloan content and decide to avoid controversy. Two sponsors pause future campaigns. The tone of her posts shifts from polished to brittle. A local business columnist writes about financial boundaries and cites my post as a rare example of receipts without rancor. Jenna emails me at midnight and says she is sorry for repeating a script that minimized my work. I reply the next morning with 3 sentences. Thank you. I accept the apology. Please honor the boundaries. We can start from there. On August 12th, we filed the $320,000 civil action in Franklin County. The exhibits are clean bank transfers labeled loan texts where Brandon promises repayment after his bonus in email where he uses the word himself. We ask the court to attach a lien to his house if we win. A process server delivers the papers the next day. The docket number hits my inbox before noon. The judge sets an early status conference for 2 weeks out. Everything is public now: the board docket, the firm memo, the hearing calendar. When we walk into the first conference in Columbus, strangers fill the benches. The judge reviews the exhibit, sets dates, and reminds both sides, this is not theater. I exhale. This is why I chose paper over fireworks. Paper doesn't panic. The criminal case runs on its own track. The bank fraud unit forwards the file to the prosecutor. I give a short factual statement. Dates, alert, steps taken, IP logs. No color. A charge for identity theft is filed. A hearing date is set. I let the system work. Before leaving Ohio, I had gathered every text and email where money moved without a contract. That chaos ends with me. In Naples, I set a rule: every dollar will have a purpose, a signature, and measurable impact. My attorney adds a clause directing any recovered funds to a charitable trust supporting victims of family financial abuse and funding entrepreneurship scholarships at my old community college. The clerk files it. The judge nods. On August 2nd, our meeting ends without a handshake. My father stares at the floor. My mother presses a tissue to her eyes. Brandon refuses the plan on the table. I thank the reporter and walk into the Florida sun. Quiet devastation travels farther than rage. A week later, I post on LinkedIn, not a victory lap, a lesson. Boundaries don't break families. They reveal breaks that already exist. Paperwork isn't petty, it's protective. If you can't say your terms out loud, you don't have terms. People share it, tag others. I put my phone down and swim. The family moves through shock, denial, anger, panic, desperation, then silence. Silence is where the truth works, where calendars fill with hearings and updates, where my mornings in Naples are simple coffee emails, a walk with Ranger and Mabel, until the civil judgment, date board interview, and preliminary hearing all land in the same week. Late September, courtroom 5B. My attorney walks the judge through the bank wires, emails, and texts. Judgment for the plaintiff: lien on Brandon's house funds to the trust. No drama, just a cooler room. I sign the order and leave by the side door. I don't celebrate. I eat a sandwich, answer 2 emails, and walk outside. The paper comes back to me today because I wrote it down, not because I shouted. A week later, I sit with a board investigator, facts, dates, documents. He reminds me an emergency suspension isn't guilt, just a pause for review. The criminal case moves on too. I appear by video, confirm the timeline, the credit, freeze the IP logs. Back in Naples, life settles, coffee. The beach, revenue checks, vendor contracts. My parents call one Sunday, no money talk, no case talk. We agree on short, argument-free calls twice a month. Jenna emails in October to own her part in minimizing my work. I accept the apology with everything in writing. Brandon speaks only through counsel. The trust begins awarding grant students legal clinics for abuse victims. The first clinic fills in 12 minutes. I cry not from hurt, but from recognizing that shaky hope. I speak at a small dinner about dignity receipts and how boundaries force families to decide if they'll grow. I keep my life small and generous. I learn pottery. I send clear quarterly letters to my team. Documentation, I've learned, defends more than court cases. It defends against rewriting your past. I repair my relationship with my younger self. I tell her she can leave a room and still be a daughter. She can say no and still be good. By year's end, the public part of this story fades into calendars. I keep my head in my work, my feet in the sand, and my voice steady when founders call. I tell them, pick a livable number, pay your taxes, put it in writing, protect your dignity. On New Year's Eve, I host a small dinner, no speeches, just friends. Someone asks what I want next. I answer to protect the peace I earned and keep building what's useful. If your story sounds like mine, you're not alone. Boundaries are not betrayal, they're a promise to your future. Keep your receipts, protect yourself, keep moving.